Hey everybody, thanks so much for taking a second to check out this short video. It's hard to believe, but Easter is only a few weeks away, and it's always a big deal here at Mosaic. We're gonna have 4 identical services this year. First on April 7th, which is Good Friday at 7 p.m., and then 3 more on Easter Sunday, April 9th at 8, 9:30, and 11. But before all of that starts, we've got a brand new event coming your way called Journey to the Cross. Journey to the Cross is going to be unlike any Easter event you've ever experienced. This self-guided, multi-sensory experience captures the Easter story in a very creative way to help us focus our hearts and attention on the sacrifice that Christ made for us on the cross. And it's going to help us prepare for worshiping on Easter weekend. The Journey to the Cross experience will be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., April 5th through 7th. It's an open house style event, which means you can come and go as you please, but please don't rush. You'll want to give yourself plenty of time for prayer and reflection while you're here. Some folks have asked, is this event okay for children? Absolutely. This event is a perfect place for parents looking to help their school-age kids understand what Easter is all about. In fact, we don't want you to come to this event alone. Bring your family members, your community group, invite a neighbor or even a coworker to attend with you, and spend some time praying and reflecting and preparing your heart for celebrating this Easter. We'd love to have you join us for Journey to the Cross this year. For more information, visit our website at mosaicgc.com or click on the Events tab in the Mosaic app. Make sure you mark your calendars now for April 5th through 7th and carve out some time that week to attend. We'll see you this Easter right here at Mosaic for Journey to the Cross.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you on a bright, sunshiny day. Let's hope it stays that way for the rest of the day. If this is your first time, I want to say a very special welcome to you. If you did not stop by the Connect desk or the Connect table outside, we'd love for you guys to stop by on your way out. We want to get a chance to meet you, and we've got a gift just for you. Well, we got a great service scheduled for today, so let's do this. Let's stand up together, and we're going to sing together. And as we sing, especially this first song, I want you guys to pay attention to the side screens, because there's going to be testimonies of those who are getting baptized today, who are going public with their faith in Jesus Christ. As they come out of the water, man, I want you guys to cheer with them just as a Mosaic church would. All right, let's worship.
When your heart feels like it's caving in, so that the peace begins. Sure as the dawn calls the sun, Jesus, we hear your love call out the light in us. Light like a maiden, I can't contain it. Hope in the here and now. What a wide horizon in the rise of heaven. Light like a maiden, I wanna live wider than all my dreams. Such a great adventure. Welcome to the future. Come on, sing it this morning. There will be days when you find you can't believe your eyes. Faith brings your world to life. Breathe in the air, it's a gift. Come on, just let it in. The best days are still ahead. Light like a maiden, I can't contain it. Hope in the here and now. What a
suddenly articulate with 1,000 tongues to lift one cry. Then from north to south and east to west, we'd hear Christ be magnified. Hear the whole earth echoing His eminence. His name would burst from sea and sky. From the rivers to the mountaintops, we'd hear Christ be magnified. Come on, sing with us this morning. Oh, Christ be magnified. Let His praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified. The altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me. When every creature finds its inmost melody, and every human heart its native cry, oh, then in one enraptured hymn of praise, we'll sing Christ be magnified. Oh, Christ be magnified. Let His praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified. The altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me. I won't bow to idols. I'll stand strong and worship you. And if it puts me in the fire, I'll rejoice 'cause you're there too. I won't be formed by feelings. I'll hold fast to what is true. If the cross brings transformation, I'll be crucified with you. 'Cause death is just a doorway to resurrection life. If I join you in your suffering, then I'll join you when you rise. And when you return in glory with all the angels and the saints, my heart will still be singing. My song will be the same. Oh, Christ be magnified. Let His praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified. The altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified. Let His praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified. The altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me.
Would you pray with me? God, we just praise you that you're in the business of changing lives. That God, you are the one who changes lives. You came to live a life that we could not live so that we could have a relationship with you, God, that we truly don't deserve. And Lord, to see those who have come to grasp with that, to come to grips with that, and God, and gone forward in obedience to you by getting baptized, is just such Such a privilege. It's so exciting. So God, as we just got done singing, we do pray that you have your way in our lives. And God, I pray that the way that we allow you to have your way in our lives brings you glory. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, go ahead and be seated. So, hey, if you guys want to partner with us, if you guys want to give to Mosaic Church, because here's the deal. We're trying to reach everybody. We're trying to reach every generation. We're trying to reach people here on the Gulf Coast and the world at large. And the beauty is we get a chance to do it with you guys. And you guys are making a difference, and we really appreciate that. And one of the ways you can make a difference is through giving. You can give the church in a lot of different ways. You can give through our website at mosaicgc.com. Go ahead and hit that giving tab. You can also give in one of the black boxes on the way out. You can just drop that off. They're attached to the walls. Or last but not least, you can always give through our app. And if you don't have our app, you really need our app. There's a lot of information on that app. In fact, if you jump on our app, you're going to see that in the next coming weeks, we got some amazing things going on. As you know, Easter is 2 weeks from today. And the week leading up to that, not this next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday through Friday, we're going to be doing something called Journey to the Cross. We're going to open up the doors from 9 to 9 on Wednesday and Thursday, and from 9 to 7 on Friday. It's going to be over there in the chapel. And some say, well, what is the Journey to the Cross? Well, it's really something for you to go and do by yourself, with your friends, with your family. And it's kind of a self-led interactive time where you're literally going to be walking through the last week of Jesus' life. And you're going to be able to contemplate that and focus on that and pray. So really encourage you guys to carve out some time, go check that out. You don't need to schedule anything. You don't need to register. Just show up. Again, it's going to be in the chapel. And then we have our Easter services. And in order to make sure we have as much space as possible for Easter, we're doing some changes in our times. First, we're actually not going to do a Thursday night service that week. We're moving that to Friday night, because Friday night's Good Friday. We figured that'd be a great time to have an Easter service. Now, that service on Friday night is going to be the exact same as the 3 that we're going to have on Sunday morning. And the times for that is going to be 8, 9:30, and 11. So if you're leaving town, come join us on Friday night. If you just want to save some space for other people, come on Friday night. If you guys want to serve, then come show up on Sunday, come to a service, and then serve for 2. See what I did there? But anyways, it's going to be a great weekend. Really encourage you guys to invite your friends. This is one of those events that happens every year, as you know, with Easter and Christmas, where people are more prone to come attend a church because they have questions. So make sure you guys invite your friends to that. Well, Brand's about to come up here as we continue our walkthrough in the book of John. So go ahead and check out these side screens.
Well, good morning, everyone. We are so glad to be back with you today. I was out last weekend. My daughter's getting ready to graduate college, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that she doesn't move back into my house with me, okay? And so we're traveling around a little bit trying to figure out, grad school, job opportunities, that kind of stuff. And so just pray that she lands this job this weekend so that she's not trying to come back home and just milk off her dad for a little while. I did miss teaching last week, but I want to thank Jeremy for just doing a wonderful job talking about something that I think we all struggle with, right? A lot of you were here for that message. You were just loving it because Jeremy last week, he talked about the issue of control. Now, I don't know about you, but in my life, I'm trying to control all kinds of things. I try to control outcomes. I try to, at times, control my kids. I've tried to control money. I try to control my spouse. That never ends well, just saying. Right? I've tried to control things like my health. I've tried to control my future. And the reason that I'm so controlling is because I have the audacity to believe that if I am in control, things will turn out better than if someone else is in control. And yet what Jeremy reminded us last week is that we are not in control. Thankfully, though, there is one who is in control, and life is so much better when you relinquish control and you start to trust the one who is truly in control. Man, I hope you heard that message last week and started just praying and going, God, help me to trust you in these things that I want to control. Now, while Jeremy was teaching last week, I was here on Sunday morning, and I had the opportunity to see some things that I normally don't get to see when I'm teaching people the Bible. And so last weekend, I had the opportunity to go over to what I affectionately call the party room. And then I also had the opportunity to go out into the parking lot. And I want to say something about each one of those. Number one, if you have never attended a service in our party room, you got to go check it out, okay? I realized last week why they call it the party room. It's like there's a party going on over there. There's life in that room. And if you've never been over there, then what you'll experience is you'll see a live service host, a live band, and a live stream message that's happening simultaneously. And the reason I want you to go over there, especially if you live in Harrison County, is because that environment gives you a real glimpse into what our future campus is going to be like when we launch that Harrison County campus in August of this year. That is, if Jeremy can ever find us a building, right? You heard him last week. He said it's driving him crazy because it's one of those things that he can't control. But he's going to figure it out. God's going to give us the building that we need because he's in control. He's going to give it at the time that we need it, and everything's going to be great. But I want you to get a taste now of what it's going to be like later down the road. And so check it out. Go over there just 1 week, sit in, get a vibe for the experience. You won't regret it. One more thing. Last week, I walked around in our parking lot. David picked me up on the golf cart, said, let's go tour it around. You guys know that we have a problem, and it's a parking problem. In fact, I shot a video a couple of weeks ago, and I said one of the most frustrating things that's ever happened to me is hearing that there were people who pulled onto our parking lot and they left because they couldn't find a parking space. I want you to think about that. People are coming to Mosaic Church looking for hope and looking for answers, and they can't even find a parking space. And so we've been begging people, like, please don't park on campus. Go park off campus. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I drove around last week, and I was so encouraged because during our most crowded service, there were all kinds of spaces in the front lot and even a few in the back lot. And I thought, man, that's why I love being the pastor of Mosaic Church, because these people get it. These people understand that we're on a mission to help people find hope and answers in the person of Jesus Christ. And so I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for partnering with us in our mission. And thank you for making small sacrifices and saying, I'm going to be the kind of person who puts someone else's needs above my own needs. That's why I love pastoring this church. I believe if we continue to make those kinds of small sacrifices, then we can continue to reach more people, which is what it is all about. With all that being said, I want to jump back into our current series. It's called Power Struggle. As we come to the end of Jesus' life, we see how real the power struggle was. In fact, I would say it like this: the closer we come to the end, the more intense the struggle becomes. In fact, this is true of almost every story you've ever heard, right? I mean, think about the books that you read. The closer we come to the end of the book, the more intense the struggle becomes. Think about the movies that you've watched. The closer you come to the end of the movie, the more intense the struggle becomes. In some ways, I even think about March Madness when I think about this reality, right? But by this point in the year, everybody's filled out a bracket. And by this point in the tournament, everybody has a busted bracket, right? We're all like, man, I didn't pick any of these teams right. But what happens is you go and you start hearing about college basketball, and the truth is nobody cares about college basketball during the regular season. And then you come home One Thursday after work, and you turn on the TV and you go, oh crap, the tournament's on, right? And all of a sudden, you start to get excited. And the intensity starts to build. And it's one thing when there's 64 teams. But the intensity grows when it drops to 32 teams. Things get even more intense when you get into the Sweet 16. Things are even more intense in the Elite Eight or the Final Four. And they're even more intense in the championship game. Why? Because the closer you come to the end, the more intense the struggle becomes. This is certainly the case as you read about the life of Jesus. There were all kinds of power struggles that were going on all throughout Jesus' life. But it got more and more intense as we come to the end of Jesus' life. There was a power struggle between Jesus and the religious leaders of his day. There was a power struggle between Jesus and Pilate, this great political leader of his day. There was a power struggle between Jesus and Caiaphas, the high priest of his day. And while there were power struggles that were going on all around these guys, the greatest power struggle of all was going on inside of these guys. Think about it. There was a power struggle going on inside of Pilate. What am I going to do with this man named Jesus? He's a religious leader. Some people say he's a miracle worker. He claims to be the very Son of God. They want me to kill him. What am I going to do with this man named Jesus? And I'm telling you, this decision that Pilate had to make, it was tearing him apart. Am I going to use my power to protect Jesus? Or am I going to use my power to crucify Jesus? There were power struggles going on all around him. But the greater power struggle was going on inside of him. Same is true with Judas, right? Greed was eating him alive from the inside out. And Judas had a decision that he was going to make. Am I going to spend my life worshiping Jesus? Or am I going to spend my life worshiping money? And Jesus made it clear, you're going to make a choice because man cannot serve both God and money, for he will love the one and hate the other, or vice versa. And Judas, power struggles going on all around him. But there was an even greater power struggle going on inside of him. There's a power struggle going on inside of Peter. Peter finds himself in a situation where they're going to kill Jesus, and they may even be interested in killing followers of Jesus. And so what am I going to do? Am I going to do the right thing or the convenient thing? Am I going to tell the truth? Or am I going to cower in fear and tell a lie? There were power struggles going on all around Peter. But the greater power struggle was going on inside of Peter. Same is true in your life. Same is true in my life. And the same is true for the two men that we're going to be looking at today. A man named Nicodemus and another man by the name of Joseph of Arimathea. There were power struggles going on all around these two guys. But it did not compare to the power struggle that was going on inside of these two guys. Because these two guys had a secret. And their secret was about to come out. John chapter 19, verses 38 to 42. Later, Joseph of Arimathea asked Pilate for the body of Jesus. Now, Joseph was a disciple of Jesus, but secretly, because he feared the Jewish leaders. With Pilate's permission, he came and took the body away. He was accompanied by Nicodemus, the man who earlier had visited Jesus at night. Nicodemus brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds. Taking Jesus' body, the two of them wrapped it with the spices in strips of linen. This was in accordance with Jewish burial customs. At the place where Jesus was crucified, there was a garden. And in the garden, a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid. Because it was the Jewish day of preparation, and since the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus are really interesting guys. In fact, according to verse 38, we read that Joseph of Arimathea was a disciple of Jesus, which in and of itself is fairly remarkable because Joseph of Arimathea was also a member of the Sanhedrin. Now, if you don't know what the Sanhedrin was, it was basically a group of 70 very powerful, very wealthy, very educated, prestigious men who governed the entire nation of Israel. Okay, these were very powerful people. In some ways, I want you to think of them like the justices who sit on the Supreme Court in America. They are that powerful. But this powerful ruler named Joseph, he doesn't just see himself as a member of the Sanhedrin. Even more than that, he sees himself as a student of Jesus. He's watched Jesus for years now, and he has concluded that there is a lot that I can learn from this man named Jesus. There's a lot that I can learn from the things that he teaches. There's a lot that I can learn from the life that Jesus has lived. According to verse 38, he has made up his mind. Joseph is a disciple of Jesus, but only a secret of disciple of Jesus because he was afraid of the Jewish leaders. In essence, he was a secret follower of Jesus because he was afraid of what his colleagues might think if they knew his secret. Nicodemus is a lot like Joseph of Arimathea. If you go back to John chapter 3, which was about a year ago in our study of John, you would discover that Nicodemus has this meeting with Jesus, but it's a secret meeting. It's a meeting that had to take place in the middle of the night. According to John chapter 3, verse 1, Nicodemus is also a member of the Sanhedrin or the Jewish ruling council. According to chapter 3, verse 10, Nicodemus is one of the great teachers in all of Israel. He is an expert and an authority in Israel on Old Testament interpretation. But he comes to Jesus in the middle of the night because he doesn't want anyone to know his secret. He's coming to Jesus in the middle of the night because he doesn't know how his friends will respond if they find out that he's been hanging out with Jesus. He's just like Joseph of Arimathea. He's intrigued by Jesus, but he's afraid of what his colleagues and friends might think of him if they find out that he's a follower of Jesus. And there's the power struggle. It's a power struggle that's going on inside of them. It's a power struggle that's going on inside of a lot of people today. It's not an interpersonal power struggle. It's an interpersonal power struggle. What am I going to say about my relationship with Jesus? I mean, yeah, there's power struggles going on all around these guys, but the greater power struggle that's going on is inside of these guys. And so they got to answer a question. And it's the same question that every one of us has to answer today. Is my faith in Jesus only going to be a private thing? Or is my faith in Jesus going to be a public thing? Am I going to hide my love for Jesus? Or am I going to show the whole world that I love Jesus? Now, if we're honest, and I mean really honest, most of us would admit that there are times when we find ourselves shying away from conversations where we talk about our faith in Jesus or our love for Jesus. Why do we hide our faith when Jesus has called us to share our faith? Why do we do that? Why is it that when something great happens in our lives, we share it with everyone, but when it comes to the best thing that's ever happened in our lives, we don't tell anyone? I mean, just go home. Pull out your phone right now. Hop on social media. And what you're going to see is that when there are great things happening in someone's life, they want to tell everyone, right? I got engaged. Look at the rock he put on my finger, right? I want everyone to see it and to know about it because you're excited. It's a great thing that's happened in your life. Get pregnant. You show that ultrasound picture to the whole world. We're going to have a baby. A few months later, you're standing in the backyard and you're popping balloons and confetti's flying out of that thing. You're shooting off cannons and pink smoke or blue smoke's going up in the air because you want everybody to know about the great thing that's happened in your life. Get a new job, a new car, a great vacation. And when it comes to something great that is happening in our lives, man, we want everybody to know. But when it comes to the very best thing that has ever happened in your life, it's like we don't want anybody to know. It's like Jesus is the world's best kept secret. And it's becoming even more so that way as we enter into a post-Christian society. This was such a big issue, and this was such an important issue that Jesus addressed it very early on in his ministry and his teachings. There was this day when Jesus invited all of his followers to go up on top of this mountain with him, and Jesus delivered what most people believe is the best sermon that's ever been given in the history of the world. It was called the Sermon on the Mount. And as Jesus is delivering this sermon, he's not talking to everybody. He's only talking to the people who have made up their mind that they are going to follow Jesus Christ with their life. And Jesus says to his own followers, Matthew 5:13 through 16, he says, "You guys, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and then put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." You know what Jesus is teaching? Salt has a purpose. Light has a purpose. And if you are a follower of Jesus, then you have a purpose. In the ancient world, the purpose of salt was not just to add a little flavor, okay? In the ancient world, the purpose of salt was to preserve that which was rotting away. If you are a follower of Jesus, that is your purpose in this world. Had a guy who came up to me after service last weekend, a good friend of mine, and he said, "Brandon, I want to talk to you about something that's just kind of eating away at me." I said, "Go for it, man. What's up?" He said, "I've got this friend. We grew up together. We've always been close. He was 6'4", 210 pounds, strong man, probably in his late 30s, early 40s, but he got cancer. And he's literally withering away to nothing. He's down to only 100 pounds. My buddy said he's probably going to die any day now. And he actually did die the very next day. But then my buddy said this to me. He said, I feel this need, this gnawing sensation inside of me that I need to have a conversation with him about Jesus. But I'm not 100% sure on what I exactly need to say. You know what my friend is feeling? He's feeling inside that I have a purpose as a follower of Jesus. And my purpose in this world is to preserve that which is rotting away. So he needs to have this conversation. There may be no hope for this life, but because of Jesus, there is still hope for eternal life. That's your purpose. But you can't fulfill your purpose if your faith is a secret. Jesus said, salt has a purpose. He said, light has a purpose. The purpose of light is to help people navigate their way through the darkness. It opens up our eyes so that we can see things that we truly need to see. As Jesus looks at his followers, he says that's your purpose in the world. To help people see their need for Jesus, to help people see the dangers that are lingering in the darkness, so that as people become followers of Jesus, they can navigate their way through a dark world. You see, this is our purpose. These guys, Joseph and Nicodemus, they had a purpose. But they also had a secret. And their secret was preventing them from fulfilling their purpose. Jesus knew these guys. Jesus knew your lamp is lit, but you're hiding it under a bowl. They didn't want anybody to know about their love for Jesus or their faith in Jesus. I'm telling you, the struggle inside of these guys is so intense. There's this love for Jesus, this admiration for Jesus, even this devotion to be a follower of Jesus, even if it was a secret. But on the other hand, they find themselves in environments where the people they hang with, the people they do life with, they don't love Jesus. They want to kill Jesus. In fact, in Luke chapter 23, verses 50 and 51, we're told that Joseph of Arimathea did not consent to the decision to crucify Jesus. It sounds like the Sanhedrin took a vote. All in favor of killing Jesus, raise your hand. They look around the room and Joseph of Arimathea is not raising his hand. I don't know if he abstained. I don't know if he objected. But I do know that he did not consent. He would not put his stamp of approval on the decision to crucify Jesus. Nicodemus felt the same struggle. Earlier in the Gospel of John, in chapter 7, the religious leaders are wanting to arrest Jesus, and Nicodemus speaks up in an attempt to defend Jesus. He speaks up and he says, guys, I need to remind you that our own laws will not allow us to arrest a man until we have first questioned the man. And right then and there, the Sanhedrin turned on Nicodemus, and he was probably never seen the same way again. These guys, they will not be a part in arresting Jesus or in crucifying Jesus, but they're also not being honest. They're not being honest about their love for Jesus, and they're not being honest about their faith in Jesus. It was a secret until they're standing in the crowd on a Friday afternoon, staring up at the dead body of Jesus as he's hanging there on a Roman cross. With no breath left in his lungs, with no life left in his body, after Jesus has surrendered his spirit, they finally shared their secret with the whole world. And everybody found out how these guys truly felt about Jesus. Faith that was once a secret was now going to be public. What was once done under the cover of darkness was now going to be on display in broad daylight. Their faith, their love, and their admiration of Jesus would lead them to bury Jesus. Now, the reason this is so profound is because at this moment in time, these guys had everything to lose, and it seemed like they had nothing to gain. I mean, just think for a minute about why they kept their faith and their love for Jesus a secret in the first place. But because if everybody knows, we're going to lose our power. If everybody knows, we may lose our position on the Sanhedrin. If everybody knows about our love for Jesus, we may not be able to enjoy this great life of privilege that we've been enjoying. If they share their secret now, everybody on the Sanhedrin is going to know we killed Jesus, and those two guys, they loved Jesus. And for Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, what good is going to come from that at this point in time? It seems like they have everything to lose. And it seems like they have nothing to gain. Jesus is dead. They have no idea that he's coming back to life in 3 days. The thought of the resurrection would have never crossed their minds. All they know is that Jesus is dead. The great teacher that we've been learning from. The great miracle worker that makes us question, who is this man? This loving man, this kind man, this righteous man, this man who's given his life to serving others rather than serving himself. He's dead and he's hanging on a cross. Why on earth would they share their secret now? I'm going to tell you why they shared their secret. It's because when you are standing at the cross, you are ultimately standing at a fork in the road. It was true of them, and it's true of every one of us. When we stand face to face with the cross of Jesus Christ, and you think about the reality of his crucifixion, you are standing at a fork in the road in your life. You are either going to be like them, or you are going to be like him. Joseph and Nicodemus, standing there looking at Jesus. Why would they share their secret now? Because we don't want to be like them. The people on the Sanhedrin are full of hate and jealousy and greed and pride and all kinds of other corruption. And Nick and Joseph both know we're either going to be like them, or we're going to make a decision right here, right now, that we would much rather be like him. And in that moment, as they stood at the fork in the road in their own life, they made their decision. If I have to be like them in order to be on the Sanhedrin, I don't even want to be on the Sanhedrin. If I got to be like them in order to live this prestigious, privileged life of wealth, I don't even know if I want that life anymore. Even though they had everything to lose and seemingly nothing to gain, they showed the whole world that we love Jesus and we would want to live our lives like Jesus. And so these two very powerful, very wealthy, very privileged men, they go to Pilate and they say, Pilate, we want you to give us the body of Jesus. Now, I want to remind you that this was done in broad daylight. And the way that I know that is because legally they had to bury the body before the sun set. And so in broad daylight, they say to Pilate, in front of everybody else, we believe that the least this man deserves is a proper burial. Give us his body. And these two white-colored guys with no dirt under their fingernails, no calluses on their hands, in all their clean clothes, probably wearing their Jewish religious garb, they go and they take the bloody, beaten body of Jesus. And they start the process of preparing him for burial. Now, most of you have never seen someone's body being prepared for burial. Unfortunately, I have. My wife's grandfather, we call him Gam Gam. Shout out to Gam Gam if you're watching right now. I love you. Thank you for this illustration. Steph's grandfather, Gam Gam, he used to embalm bodies for a living before he retired. And so one night we were hanging out at his house and he said, hey, Brandon, I got to run over to the funeral home. Do you want to go with me? Well, I didn't really want to go hang out in a funeral home, but I'm like trying to fall in love with your granddaughter here. And so if that's what it takes, let's go to the funeral home, right? So we hopped in the car and we went over to the funeral home. We walked in and it was completely black in this room. And all of a sudden he flips this light switch on and I was shocked because right beside me was a dead body. It literally scared me to death. No pun intended, all right? But I'm standing there and I'm like, wow, we're here. And he's like, I got to get this body ready for a funeral. And he starts to do his work. And as I watched him do his work, I realized the thing that made him so good at his job is that he cares. I watched him start the process of preparing this body. Watched him put makeup on the face and in the hands to put a little color back in the skin. Watched him dress the man and fix the tie on the man. I watched him comb this man's hair and try to make him look as good as possible so that when the family saw him at the funeral, they would have positive memories, not painful memories. And I watched him and I was like, man, he's so good at his job because he cares. The reason that Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus were so good at this job is because they cared. They genuinely cared about Jesus. They had everything to lose. They've got nothing to gain, but they cared so much. They said, give me the body so that we can prepare it for burial. They cared about the way that Jesus looked. So I imagine that they took cloth and water and sponges and probably washed the dried blood off of Jesus' face. I imagine that they washed all the dried blood off of his body, and as they went to clean around deep wounds where flesh was raw, they were probably very gentle and very caring in the way that they cleaned up the body of Jesus. I imagine that as Jesus' hair was down in his face, they went to pull his hair back out so they could see his beautiful face. Imagine they probably had to pick thorns out of his forehead. They probably had to pull the splinters or the pieces of wood out of his back. When they got him all cleaned up, we know that they wrapped him in clean linens, and we know that they treated his body with 75 pounds of myrrh and aloes. This was extravagant, and it came with a great expense. But at this point, they didn't care what it cost them. They prepared his body with aloes and myrrh, and then they laid him in a very expensive tomb. And it was all done in broad daylight because legally they had to get the job done before the sun had set. Again, at this point, I don't think they even cared about what other people may have thought. I don't think they cared about what it was going to cost them. All they cared about was Jesus. I want you to listen to me right now. At the end of your life, all you are going to care about is Jesus. And if that's true at the end of your life, then that should be true all throughout your life. These guys had no idea how their actions on Friday would matter so much on Sunday. But you need to know that what you do with Jesus and what you do for Jesus today, it matters more than you will ever understand tomorrow. And so you can go through life and you can kind of keep your faith a secret, or you can let your light shine before men so that other people might see your love for Jesus, become followers of Jesus, and glorify your Father in heaven. But you better believe that what you do with Jesus today and what you do for Jesus today, it ultimately matters tomorrow. Every week I stand on this stage and I look at a clock on the back wall that tells me my time is running out. When I look at that clock, I know if there's a point I want to make, I better make it. If there's something I want to say, I better say it. And if there's something that I want to do, I better do it before my time runs out. It's not just true in my life. That's true in every single one of our lives as well. And so today, if you are not a follower of Jesus, I want you to become one today, right here, right now. These religious leaders, they looked at Jesus, they watched Jesus for 3 years, and they said, we're going to give up everything to follow Jesus. They did not regret it, and I promise you this, you will not regret it. For many of you, this may be your fork in the road. Do I want to be like him, or do I want to be like them? You get to choose, and then you will live forever with the choice that you make. For those of you who are followers of Jesus, I want you to know there is no need for you to be ashamed of your love for Jesus, your faith in Jesus, or your commitment to follow Jesus. And I'm going to tell you why. You know it, I know it, the whole world knows it. Following Jesus makes life better, and following Jesus makes us better at life. If that's true, then we should be eager not to correct people, but we should be eager to connect people to the person of Jesus Christ, because it's the best thing that could ever happen in their life. Will you pray with me? As we bow our heads in prayer, I want to start with those who came in today and you're not yet a follower of Jesus. This needs to be your moment, fork in the road, right here, right now. Would you just admit to God right where you sit, God, I need to become a follower of Jesus. Maybe you're a lot like Nicodemus or Joseph of Arimathea, kind of been hiding your faith. Maybe you've admired Jesus, but you've never really committed to following Jesus. Right where you sit, just say, God, enough of that. I'm becoming a follower of Jesus today. I trust that he died on that cross to forgive my sins. I believe that he lived on this earth so that I could learn from him through the example that he set and the teachings that he gave, so that he could be the one who leads my life. And if that's a decision that you've made today, I want to know about it because I want to help you take the next step of baptism in your faith journey. Baptism is a way in which we go public with our faith in Jesus, just like Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus went public with their faith in Jesus. If that's a decision that you need to make, please use this time right now to go ahead and fill out the Connect card in the seat pocket in front of you. On that card, let us know that you've put your faith in Jesus, that you're interested in baptism, and then you can drop that card in the black boxes or at the Connect desk as you make your way out of the auditorium. For those of you who are followers of Jesus, I want to talk to you for just a second. God, my prayer for those of us who are followers of Jesus is that we would not be ashamed of Jesus, that we would not be ashamed of the gospel, but that we would take pride in the gospel, that we would boast about Jesus and what he's done for us and what he can do for people that we love. God, may you use this message to transform us so that you might ultimately transform the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I pray it all in Christ's name. Amen. At this time, I'm going to ask you to stand with me. I want us to sing a closing song, and then I'm going to come back out because there's 3 things that I want to say to you before we leave today. Let's stand and sing together.
Giving you my heart and all that is within. I lay it all down for the sake of you, my King. I'm giving you my dreams. I'm laying down my rights. I'm giving up my pride for the promise of new life. To
What a great service. So glad you guys were here for it. 3 things before you go. Number 1, if you became a follower of Jesus and are interested in baptism, man, we would love to help you take that next step in your faith journey. Again, take that Connect card and drop it off at the Connect desk. We'll follow up with you this week. Number 2, Easter's right around the corner, man. I tell you, more people are going to go to church on Easter Sunday than any other day of the year. We do not need to be ashamed of our faith in Jesus. We need to invite people to come. On that day, I'm going to be talking about peace and how the reality of the resurrection can give us peace in our lives, the peace that we crave. So you do your job of inviting people and bringing people with you, and I'm going to shoot them full of Jesus when they get here, all right? Third and finally, if you're a guest, you've been visiting Mosaic for a week or 2 or a month. If you've never met us, we would love to meet you right through these double doors to my right, to your left. David is opening those up. We got a little thing called Meet the Team. It literally is swing in, introduce yourself, let us know if we can help you or pray for you in any way. We'd love to meet you, and then you can get on your way. You guys get out of here. Have a great week. Know that God loves you. We love you. Hope to see you guys back next weekend.